Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to be doing a little rebuild and strip down, rebuild, clean up of some carbs for a Yamaha R6 YZF R6 5EB 99 to 2001. You know the gist. The old bikes are the ones we like. If you like this sort of content, please like, subscribe and share and all that good stuff. This is the rebuild we're currently doing at the moment, and these carbs are part of it, and this is kind of a little spin-off of the series. So if you haven't seen the series and you'd like to check it out, I'll leave a link in the description below, and please do give us a check out. I'm trying to make it as interesting as possible. But yes, today in this video is going to be sort of a detailed, sort of like a bit of a how-to video. We've got the carbs here, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to strip them down. I don't think these are too bad. They're off a completely fine and running bike. The thing is, we're rebuilding the whole thing, and it has sat for a little while, so we are just going to take them apart for the sake, mainly for the sake of the video. Just give them a clean up, give them a little bit of a freshen up. I am going to take the bits to work with me and blow them all out with the airline, because I haven't got compressed air here currently. And yeah, as you can see with these ones, one of the water spouts, or unions, has broken off, but we don't run the coolant on this bike. So, well, we run the coolant obviously, but not through the carbs. So let's get you set up, and without further ado, let's get straight into these carbs, shall we? Right, so here we have the carbs. It's taken me quite a while to get you set up like that, and to be honest, you're hanging rather precariously off a GoPro mount stuck to the underside of my toolbox, so you might suddenly fall down in a minute, but you won't see that. I'll cut it out. Either way, we're going to get on with these carbs tonight. Basically, there's a little bit of a lesson in how they work, and also how they come apart, just for a basic strip down, clean up, rebuild. Now, it's a little bit difficult for me in terms of clean up, because I have to take the bits to work to clean them up. So that bit won't be in the video. It'll just be a case of me stripping it in this segment, and then in the next segment you'll see all fresh clean bits, and we reassemble and set up. So without further ado, and without keeping the video or making the video too long, let's get on with it. You only need basic tools for doing this job. They are what's known as a Venturi carburetor. So in here is a diaphragm that basically a vacuum is created, and the vacuum in turn lifts the needles higher as the bike's revving harder, alters the fuel mixture, gives better bang. So we're going to be taking, we don't really need to take these apart, but because of the sake of the video, I'm going to take these bits anyway, and just show you. I do have an older video of the carbs, but it's not very good, I don't think, because it was one of my very early videos. I mean, my current videos aren't very good, so that can only be terrible, can't it? So anyway, let's get on with these. We're going to lay things out in order as we strip them. First thing you're going to need, once you've drained the fuel out, is a Phillips head screwdriver, and you just want to be careful with these little brass screws that you don't round them off, because, sorry, it's a bit of indigestion, because they are soft and they do get stuck sometimes, and they are a nightmare to get out if they do strip. Because ideally you don't want to be drilling things on your carburetors. You don't want metal filings around. See, now this one's got grip. There we go. That moved. You just got to be careful, just make sure it doesn't slip, because once it slips once, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So we just want to loosen all these off. As I say, the last time the bike ran, it was running perfectly fine, and you wouldn't be thinking, oh, let's, you know, change the carbs or rebuild the carbs or whatever, but because it's been off the road for a good year, possibly longer, we are going to go through them. So they're all cracked off, so I'm going to save a little bit of time and get my little buzz gun. I do not recommend touching them screws without cracking them off with a buzz gun, because you will literally tear the heads off of every single one of them. Again, don't be doing them up with it either. I want a little pot just for our bits and bobs. Forgive me if I haven't been able to speed this bit up, guys. My editing skills are slowly improving. I do try new things all the time. So I'm currently editing off a Samsung phone. I film with a GoPro and then edit on the Samsung phone. I haven't ventured onto the Adobe Photo, the video editor yet. I've watched the videos and quite frankly it does confuse me a bit, even the basics, so we will get there, just not quite now. So we're not bad. We're not bad. These bowls, they are cylinder specific, but only in pairs now, and it's only because of the bleed drain screw. The bleed drain screw faces outwards on each two, so these two are facing to the left, these two are facing to the right, and so when you go to store the bike up, you're supposed to drain the fuel out of the bottom of the chambers, so it doesn't all congeal up and go nasty. But as you can see, these are pretty damn clean. We'll literally run these through brake cleaner and stuff at work and give them a bit of a blowout with the air gun, but there is literally nothing wrong with these. Well, there's no nastiness in there anyway, but we will prevail. Next I'm going to take out the air mixture screws. Sounded like a lisp then. What you need for this is a flathead screwdriver, a small flathead screwdriver, just something like this, and generally you want to count the turns. You want to turn them half a turn, you know, make a note of where they're only flatheads, so you make a note, make a mark on here or so where they line up with, and you want to count in half turns how many it is before it goes home. And when I mean goes home, it just stops. I don't mean crank it in there, but we're going to be setting these up from scratch, and I know the settings already anyway. So for European bikes, it's between 1.5 turns out from base to 2. Sometimes when you're running an exhaust and K&M filter, if you're still running the standard jets, I found the best sort of setting that the bike's happy with is 2 turns and like literally another 1/10, like literally just a tiny little, like, you know, hardly anything. Right, this is the jet. This is the mixtures screw. Shut up. Dog's barking. One sec. My dog is currently finding his voice and it's rather annoying. Anything to get what he wants, he will just bark, and it's frustrating at times. I need a rag. Some of the fuel, typically, obviously, has come out. Right. Now, in general, these springs and stuff are a pain to get out. If you haven't got a really thin magnet, which I doubt you would have, I haven't even got one. It'll be a bit of a pain. Pick can work, but it's not just the spring with these. In here, let me just get the first one out, and then I can show you. I'm also doing this because I myself haven't been through these carbs, and I just want to make sure that there's nothing missing from them, like a little O-ring from these, or a spring, or a washer, or anything, you know. Make sure the jets are in the right order, because a lot of people, when they fuck around with the carbs and strip them all apart, they don't think the jets need to be in order when they do. The outer ones are different to the inner ones. So I'm just trying to keep talking while I'm fishing this bastard O-ring out of here. It can be a right nightmare to get out. The problem is, oh, there you go. Right. Okay, so here we have the mixture screw. Now you have a concaved little O-ring, and the concavity wants to go on the outside because it's sitting into a seat. Right, and that pushes over to the thickest part of the needle, a mixture screw like that. So you've got spring, washer, and then O-ring. So it's O-ring first, creating the seal. Spring and creates the tension and keeps the jet there, so we're in position. So if you haven't got the spring, it will walk and change your fuel mixture. If you haven't got the washer and if you haven't got the washer, your spring will eat your O-ring, and if you haven't got the O-ring, it will obviously leak. So I'm gonna leave the other 3 pots and then do them on like a little time-lapsey thing. So we're just going to strip the one for now, but that's the one for that one. So we'll put that with number 1. Now the next thing to get out will be the float. Now R6s are generally pretty good with their float height. I very rarely have had to adjust the float height of an R6, but there is a spec I don't know, which I've got the book here. I believe, oh no, there's a different way of setting these up. There's a special Yamaha tool. Yeah. There's a special Yamaha tool, which basically measures the float height, the fluid height in the chamber. But it's a little unnecessary. Like I say, I very rarely have had to adjust float heights on an R6. 1 screw, a little rod, and then the needle, the float needle, is on the bottom of the float. I can hear someone coming. Wife entry. maybe not. This is a little seal. I'm not sure entirely what this is made of, but it's a little seal, and it sits in the bottom of the seat, which is here, which is tapered bit of brass, and it basically works like a toilet bowl float. When there's a low fuel level, bearing in mind these are upside down, when there's a low fuel level, the float is down, which has pulled this out, allowing more fuel in, and once the fuel level rises in the bowl, it will then push this up and close. So if you're ever experiencing things like you're leaving your bike sitting and one of the cylinders is filling up with fuel, or one or more is filling up with fuel and hydrolocking the bike, it will be one of these leaking. Because what it is even though the float is all the way up and this should be closed and sealed, it's not. And then the fuel will travel up through the breather of the carb or into the chamber of the carb and into your cylinder, and then overnight that will fill it up, and you won't be able to turn your bike over in the morning. Common problem on Bandits. With these, you want to just make sure there's no cracks. They're not full of fuel or anything, and that this pin here, this bit that this rides on, is straight. So on with the jets. Now, forgive me if and you probably noticed I'm not too good at talking, model these jets up. I always get pilot jet and main jet mixed up. Now we're going to want a bit of a beefier screwdriver for those, because they are only brass and you can tear them quite easily. You want a nice bit of leverage. A big screwdriver will fit fine. These are the main jets, I believe. Yeah. So these are the main jets. These have a metered hole through the middle that only allows a certain amount of fuel to pass through it. Same with the pilot jets. The pilot jets are controlling, say, idle and anything slightly above idle, and these have a specific hole. Now on these jets they have a size. This one is a 38, so it should be a 38 on this side. Now, oh no, it's these ones that are different, sorry. So this is a 152, so this one should be a 152 as well, and these two should be something different. Let me just whip out one that's different. It's to do with heat of the engine, to make them run slightly richer or leaner on those cylinders in higher RPMs. Something that Yamaha discovered, that the two inner cylinders are obviously probably a bit hotter than the outer two, something like that. Yeah, see, this one's a 148. Alright, so we've got 152 jets in the outers and a 148 jet in the inners, and I do believe that is a standard size jet for this year of bike. Let me just have a look. Yeah, main jet is a 152 and a 148, I'm pretty sure. Short term memory loss and all that, but that's, yeah, 152. What did I say, 152, didn't it? Yeah, 152 and then 148, right? So yes, they are the same. Yes, they are standard, and yes, they are in the right place. And they are the main jets. Pilot air jet. Oh, sorry, here we go. Pilot Jet 38. So yeah, I believe that's a 38. So they are completely standard. Right. So that's all of that. Oh no, it's not. Pardon me. Then you have the seats that the jets sit in. These are all the same, but they just got a metered amount of holes in. And you just want to make sure they're all clear. So what we'll be doing at work tomorrow, like I say, unfortunately I won't be able to film it, but I'll be blowing all these out with an airline. I'm pretty sure they're all clear anyway, but as it's all off, I might as well be. Give me another reason to be pulling these carbs apart rather than just a video. And because, you know, if it wasn't just for the video, I would literally have taken these bowls off, seen how clean they were, and gone, okay, yeah, they're fine, and put them back on and run them. So for the sake of the video and the build series, I'm going to strip them and fully go through them, clean them up. That is just a collar for that to sit in, basically. But it's handy for it to all come out. Now, I'm going to flip the carbs, sorry, not you, around. Now this is going to be slightly harder to show. I don't know if I push it back there, you probably can see. I'm going to undo these ones. Now there's a spring under here, a rather large one, just holding the actual diaphragm and needle and everything down. So when you get to taking off the last one, you want to just be holding it down. These screws are all the same apart from the one that holds the choke cable. That's just a normal screw, and it's got a brass collar inside the hole of this plastic cap so that you don't over tighten it and crack the cap. Because these caps need to be sealed. If there's any cracks in these caps or any damage at all, then that will be causing all sorts of running issues with your bike. That's not common. I've never seen damaged or cracked carburetor, you know, the Venturi top hats, as it were. But I have seen these diaphragms split. Now, that's the cap, this is the spring. All those are the same, so we don't need to keep those in order. All these are the same, but it's best to keep them in order. You just want to be very careful pulling this out, it's very delicate. If it's resisting, just stop and just unpeel it. Just slide that out. Yeah, that is a little bit stiff actually, so I'm glad I'm pulling that out. Might be a little bit of solidified fuel. It's more like dust actually. Yeah, so I'm glad I'm pulling these out now. That's made me happier about doing it. On these, you just want to check that, like I say, there's no splits, there's no tears, and they're all in good condition, all sealed around the bottom. And you want to make sure that this little brass locating tab is present, because without that they can twist and they can leak air. Now when you're tuning these carbs, you can adjust this needle height from where it sits in this base piece. Now the way you do that, I'm only going to show you on this one because I'm not actually making any changes. You get this awkward little bit of green plastic out, which is a case of just pushing the two tabs together, and off it pops. That releases the top. Now in the bottom here, you can now pull the needle up. And you'll have, I won't take them out now, but there's some tiny little washers in the bottom there that space this. And on aftermarket sort of racing needles like Dynajets and stuff, there'll be a little circlip here with a few little grooves so you can adjust the actual height even more so with a needle, but these appear to be standard, so the standard ones have just this top hat type of deal, and they're adjusted with a little washer or two down in there. So we're going to leave it as is, because like I say, we don't need to be touching it. I just thought I'd show you that is how it goes. Just pop that back on, and we'll keep that in order. So right, as you can see, we are now all stripped. That's as far as we need to go with it. We can leave all these on. In fact, I am going to just pull these breathers off, just so they're not flopping around everywhere. Be really careful with these, because I have snapped these before, and they are incredibly hard to get hold of, because no one wants to strip old carbs for bits and what have you. I do have a spare set of carbs that I used for bits, but both of these bits are already gone, so I'm going to be extra careful with those. On these, you'll notice that the cooling jacket on this side is broken off. Now, it's not necessary in this country. It's only necessary in really cold countries. You do not need... This is not fuel cooling, this is fuel heating, to stop it from freezing. People will argue that it will freeze in the cylinders, you know, in the inlets and stuff like that, from the velocity and stuff like that. But I've run these on many track bikes without this, and on road bikes as well. I mean, the same bikes that have been on the track are also on the road, and there has never ever been an issue with the fuel freezing, so do not worry about that. Just bypass it. Don't block off each end, just loop the pipe as if this wasn't part. So you know, you'd remove it from here, you'd remove it here, and just join the two together. Don't ever block things off. This is your choke bar, so this pulls out this part. Now, we could go fully into stripping these down, but you simply just don't need to. This is as far as you ever really need to go, even for ultrasonic cleaning. All this would just be able to go into the ultrasonic cleaning. I mean, I'd take the sensor off, obviously, but these are just going to get a quick splash and crash with brake cleaner. When you hear of people balancing carbs, this is what these are. This is all these 4 carbs are all linked together, and they're joined in holy matrimony by these parts here, and they're not actually physically bolted or anything. They're just, this arm is on the top of a screw, accessible from the other side, and this is a threaded part where the screw is attached, and they're adjustable, so you can adjust these independently of each other. And what you want is an equal level, but also they might need to be slightly different from each other, because the cylinders being different from each other, different compression ratios by ever slight amounts, different fueling, you know, so they're adjustable by the gauges. You put the gauges on for the vacuum and you run the bike warm, and then what you'll do, as you can possibly see down here, it's a bit difficult to see, but that screw there that is moving around, that one right there, is one of them. There's 3. There's one master one and then 2 individual ones. I believe the center one is the master one on these. Don't quote me 100%, but I will be setting up I will at least be checking the balance of the car of these once they're on the bike and running. That'll be in the build series. Again, link in the description if you want to check that out. So without waffling on too much now, guys, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack this stuff up. These stay here. Don't know if you can see me. Right, hello, it's new day. I have taken all these bits to work, given a full thorough clean up in the solvent bath and a good blow down with the airline. Everything is looking nice and sparkly and clean now, including the body of the carbs, which are all good. So we can commence on with this rebuild. Now, I'm only going to show you, I'm going to do basically what I've done before earlier on in the video. I'm going to do one carb completely, and then I'm going to put you on a time lapse for the rest, and then we'll set up the mixture screw and stuff like that at the end of it. Right, okay, so let's get on with it. I'm gonna do the Venturi first, because we didn't really need to take these apart. It was only for the sake of the video, so I'm going to slip these back in. Now, when you do, you just obviously want to make sure they're the right way around. You can't get them the wrong way around, but the main thing is you don't want to feel any resistance. If something's not going in, don't force it in, and you want to be looking down the throat hole of the carb while you're doing it, because you want to guide the pin, or sorry, needle, into the little hole down there. It is only a brass seat, so you want to be careful that you don't scratch it or anything like that, but in general you're alright. So that slides down in there nicely. Should feel very, very free, because obviously it works on sort of vacuum and gravity and stuff as well, and you just want to make sure this little brass nipple bit is seated nicely and sitting flush. Alright, make sure there's a groove for the seal to sit in. Just make sure it's in it all the way around and nice and evenly. Then you want to get your top cap and spring. You want to put your spring on. Doesn't matter which way around it goes. Oops. Probably easier if I just did it like this, wouldn't it? And then you've got like a locator in the bottom of the cap as well, so if you just move the cap around, it'll lock into it. And it's a simple case of just popping the thing on. Make sure it sits down all the way nice and flush, and there's nothing in the little groove that it sits in, because this needs to be an airtight seal. Few screws just to hold it down. Remember, they are the type of screw with this sort of shank type collar on there, and one of them is different, which is this one here for the choke bracket, and they just got a little brass insert in there instead, but typically mine doesn't. It's missing, and I don't have a spare, so unfortunately, well, it's just to stop it being over tightened, so as long as we don't do that, we'll be fine. Now, I've lost my normal size screwdriver. Well, I haven't lost it, it's in the car. What's this one? That's a flathead. Oh, I know what I've got. My ratchet screwdriver that I've never used before. I've had this screwdriver set for probably about 10 years, and I've never used this screwdriver. So today's the first. I don't like the ratchetness of them though, so I'm just going to lock it up. And it's rattling because it's got bits in it in the end, or a bit, a flathead bit. Yeah, I've never used this. So we just nip them up for now. I'll go over them all once the whole thing is together. Like so. Just want to check that can move up and down in there nicely. And you should feel like a vacuum, can't you? You should feel it kind of working against your finger. So, on with this bit. Now, let's do the jets first. First we have this little tube, doobry what's it. Just need to nip them up, just tiny little tweak on them. And we've got this emulsion tube thing. That go on there too. It's basically just, oh, it's so simple. It's just a basic case of you doing the opposite of what you did before it was all cleaned up. Now we need a flathead. Just nip that up like that. Now I just want to double check, because I have had these jets and bits in a bag. I just want to double check that the different ones are in the right places. So we have got cylinders 1 and 4 are 52. Yeah, so we got it wrong. So that one's there, that one's there, that one's there, that one's there. Right, so that is a 152 for cylinders 1 and 4. 152, yeah. Right. So screw that on there like that. Get our screwdriver. Just nip that up. Now we want the float. Now, this float needle, bearing in mind, oh by the way guys, I have swapped these over because I'm doing it this way around now. I did anticipate for that, so what's going in here is a mirror of this. So yeah, it has all changed since I last played, since I last recorded the video. It's all been away and back out, so I've remembered the orientation of which they go in. So this is your float needle, and I like to call them ears. They've got like a little clip. Don't know if you can see it because I can't see the screen of my camera, but yeah, these what do you call them? Little metal clip. Sorry, I just got completely thrown off. Little metal clip that holds the needle, float needle, onto the float, and they got like a little bent round bit of metal, and I call them the ears. So you want these facing outwards, away from the floats, and you just want to literally hook that on there like that, so it's dangling. And then you want to get your rod, your metal rod hinge piece, thread that through, and then you want to very carefully, you want to double check the hole is clear of crap, which he is, right? And then you just want to very carefully drop the needle into the hole as straight as possible and just let it guide down into there by itself. Don't force it. And then we secure it with a screw. And there we have it. Hang on. No, I've made a boo-boo. And I'm not going to cut that out either. I've got the wrong float in there, so yeah, I have gotten the wrong way around. Right, ignore all that. That's for that one. So this is for that one. Whoopsie. Okay, so ears out. Doesn't matter as long as it's noticed, eh? And then, as you can see, what has happened is, I'll show it here. I was fitting this in. Oh no. Possibly it was right then. Oh, what it? Right. Actually, no, it probably was right. I'm confusing myself now. I knew I shouldn't have altered the orientation. I was picturing the float poking out of the chamber further, but it doesn't. Right, so let's grab that screw again, just drop that on. I've got to mention one other thing about the float needles as well. Just grab one. I've got a little nipple on here that can move in and out. Sometimes these get stuck, and if they do get stuck, the chamber often leaks. Or they can lose their springiness, and so they're just like, yeah, they haven't got a lot of resistance anyway. But if there's nothing there at all, then it'll be bad and will more than likely leak. So that's that part. What we're going to do, I don't want to put this on yet until I've got them all together, and then I'm just going to go and double check everything. So I'm going to chuck you on the time lapse now. I'll quickly finish off the rest, and then we'll get the pilot jet set up. I'll drop this in now actually so I don't lose it. Right, so remember we've got the spring, little washer, little O-ring, right, all together, it'll stay together. You just want to drop it in the hole. Get your screwdriver that fits in the hole. And you just want to wind it in all the way till it stops. Once it stops, it stops. You don't have to force it anymore. As soon as it stops, that's it. There you go. We'll do that with the rest of them on the time lapse, and I'll come back to you in a sec. there we go. They are all back together. So I've still got to put these breather pipes on, but I'll do that when I actually fit them onto the bike. Now, you'll notice, some of you may notice there's a bolt missing or a screw missing here. I've done a lot of these carbs and I've never seen one with a full set, so I don't know whether they're not meant to have it or what. I don't know, but it's never really been a problem. Either way, all we got to do now, they are still very well balanced, but we're going to be balancing them once they're back on the bike. But what we got to do now is the set screws. If you remember, we just wound them all in so that they would be, you know, at base, at base. Yeah, they're all home. So the book says for 98 to 99 models, you can do 2 turns out. So that's 4 half turns basically. Or 2000 on models is 1.5 to 2. Now this is an early model, this is an EB, not an MT. So that's basically the difference between the EBs and MT. So the EBs will have 2 turns out, the 5MTs will have 1.5 to 2 turns out. Now this bike is running a K&M filter and a fake acrylic exhaust. So we're going to be wanting the higher side of the fueling, and basically the more you have this turned out, the more fuel is allowed to enter. With these all the way shut at the moment, it's shut all fuel off. So I'm pretty sure that's the way it is, because I know it's just air mixture screw, but it's basically, I'm pretty sure. No, sorry, hang on. You lean it off by bringing these out. These are all the way rich at the moment. So what you do, you make a mental kind of note of the direction or the angle, or the position of the flat part of the flathead. Yeah, so where the groove is. Now I tend to just do a tiny little scratch in line with the screw head. Then you can line it up a lot more accurately. You won't be able to see it, there's no point in moving the camera, but there is a tiny little scratch that I've just put on this piece of aluminium here. Now all you've got to do is count the turns outwards, and I do half at a time. So basically you want to turn it 180 degrees, and that's 1 turn, or 1/2 of a turn. You want to do that 4 times. Because like I say, with this bike having an aftermarket exhaust and a K&M filter on it, we will be running it closer to the 2 turns out mark, because I think that's leaning it off. I really can't remember. So that's 4 turns there. Now I might need to tweak this a little bit, because obviously every bike runs differently. But we won't know that till we get it running and are able to tune it. But this is the way you set it to at least get it to run, and it will run on this setting quite happily. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Mark it up again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one. Whoops. 1. 2. 2, 3, 4. Right, so that's all them set. So they are now ready to be fitted to the bike, which means I can carry on with the rebuild series, rebuild in general. So the next stage is to get these fitted and to get the bike running. Like I say, once the bike is running, we are going to do the balancing of the carburetors, and as I explained to you earlier, that's the synchronization between these 4 brass butterflies here. They're not all going to be exactly level with each other. Some may be slightly different to others, so they're individually adjusted to balance out the cylinders, so that the cylinder pressures and firing and all that is exactly the same. It's just a way of adjusting for basically small discrepancies, like, you know, slight differences in compression or anything that the engine may be dealing with. You adjust the smoothness of the running via balancing the carbs. So once it's on the bike, we'll be doing that. So without going on too much, that's about the end of the video. And if you liked what you saw, then please like, share, subscribe and all that jazz. And if you want to check out the build series, I'll leave a link in the description of this video for you to check out. So thanks guys, and see you soon. Bye bye.